these are my disenthralled thoughts. A while back, a friend and I were talking about gun control in Europe and Australia versus United States, and it was after some shooting or another, some school shooting, or one of the ones that makes everybody feel the most emotional. And these people were talking about we need to have tighter gun control laws because of these tragedies that can happen. And my point was always, first of all, that your right to self-defense doesn't come from any government. That's part of inherently existing. Only you are going to be interested or vested in your own life in a way that you will be willing to protect it in that life or death manner. And so nobody can tell you, no matter what politicians write on paper, that you can't use weaponry to defend yourself. All right, so, but aside from that, my point was showing the gun control laws in history, and then the amount of people that were killed as a result of not being able to defend themselves because of gun control laws shortly after those laws went into effect. So nothing terrible like that had happened in Australia up until the point of this conversation with my friend. So they could easily say, oh look, everything's so much better. There's way less gun death because there's no guns in Australia. And so fast forward to today, Melbourne, Australia. What is going on in Australia? Get ready, Melbourne. Australia is under indefinite lockdown, coming to your neighborhood soon. We are in deep shit down here in Melbourne, Australia. For those who are not aware, last Sunday at 3:30 p.m., our premier, like a governor, introduced a stage 4 restriction regime that took effect at 6 p.m. the same day. So what happened with the changes? Indefinite curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. 1 hour of exercise outside your house per 24 hours. That sounds like jail. That's for real, the amount of time that prisoners get in jail. 1 member per household can shop once per day. Permits are required to leave our suburb. We are not permitted to leave the metropolitan area. Antiretroviral drugs like hydroxychloroquine banned on April 22nd. Fines for disobedience started at $200 fine per offense, rose to $5,000 per offense, and repeat offense is $20,000 per offense. Parliament was suspended on Sunday indefinitely. Courts are closed. Minimal access indefinitely. The Constitution was suspended through this chain of events. All right, so further details going on in Melbourne. Anti-lockdown protest. Organizers arrested ahead of weekend rally. Police have raided the homes of 2 men planning a rally against Melbourne's lockdown, charging them ahead of the weekend gathering. Victoria police have arrested 2 men accused of organizing Sunday's anti-lockdown freedom rally in the Melbourne CBD. 2 search warrants were executed last night in the suburbs, Mooroolbark and Churnside Park, where police seized mobile phones and a computer. Police allege the men were behind the planned rally this weekend, supported by coronavirus conspiracy theorists and so-called sovereign citizens. That is fucking blatant character assassination and shaping of the narrative. News.com.au. Alright, so their news is whitewashed over in Australia as well as here. As a result, a 41-year-old male from Mooroolbark was charged with incitement. He was bailed and is due to appear at the Melbourne Magistrates Court on January 21 of 2021, police said in a statement. A 41-year-old male from Churnside Park was also arrested last night, but was released with intent to summons. He is expected to be charged later today with the same offenses. It's a lot different than the way the anti-lockdown protests went in Germany. They had hundreds of millions of people protesting around Germany. Germany does have really stupid, strict gun laws and stuff too, though, but those people there aren't really ready for the type of tyranny that is being brought upon the world. Germany is actually on this list. I want to show you next here. This is I forget what JPFO stands for. Jews Against Preservation of Firearm Ownership or something like that. The JPFO Genocide Chart, though, this thing documents lives lost versus gun control laws in the 20th century. In the 20th century, governments murdered 4 times as many civilians as were killed in all the international and domestic wars combined. They murdered millions more people than were killed by common criminals. How could governments kill so many people? Because they had the power, and the victims, were unable to resist because they were unarmed. So, talking about Germany, they're down here, 1933 to 1945. Nazi Germany and occupied Europe. The targets were political opponents, Jews, gypsies, critics, and examples. So 20 million civilians estimated killed here. Gun control laws. Here are the ones that you would look up. Laws on firearms and ammunition, 1928. Weapon law, March 18th, 1938. And registrations against Jews, 1938. The features of the overall gun control scheme for them: registration and licensing, stricter handgun laws, ban on possession. And so this list is actually really good. You can go back and see all of these other ones as well. And Ottoman Turkey with the Armenians, in the Soviet Union with political opponents, farming communities, China, nationalist China, political opponents, army conscripts, Red China, political opponents, rural populations, enemies of the state, Guatemala, Mayans and Indians, political enemies, Uganda, Christians, political enemies, Cambodia, educated persons, political enemies, Rwanda, the Tutsi people. And look at these numbers: 1 to 1.5 million, 20 million, 20 million, 10 million, 20 to 35 million, 100,000 to 200,000, 300,000, 2 million, 800,000. So if you're still tuned into the programming, watching these mainstream media sources, and you don't realize how badly they're lying to you and how strongly they are manipulating you, then you'll see the numbers of like COVID deaths or people getting sick or just cases of it, and who knows how much of that is even realistic. I don't think that their testing methods are valid at all. I've looked into the antibody test, the PCR test. The inventor of the PCR test said that that wasn't the purpose, that it's a manufacturing technique designed to replicate DNA and RNA. So all those PCR tests, what the test does is it replicates strands of RNA. All right, so you can look into, I have another video on exosomes and how the virus has never even really been proven to be able to be transmitted. They tried to do testing on Spanish flu people by getting them to cough in the faces of healthy people to get them to pass the Spanish flu on, and they failed to do that every time. They have not done that with this one. So even if they were giving us true numbers, which they're absolutely not, those numbers that we would be seeing pale in comparison to the types of just human horror that can happen when governments get as powerful and tyrannical as they're getting and the people cannot defend themselves. So the moral of the story: if the government says you don't need a gun, you need a gun. I understand bad things can happen, people can get sick. I understand bad things can happen. Somebody might go crazy on too many pharmaceutical, psychotropic drugs and shoot somebody else up, and that'll be tragic. But most people don't understand, can't even begin to fathom everybody that they know being slaughtered in war or war crimes, and how much more horrible that would be and how much larger that scale is. So never give up your guns. Just absolutely don't ever do that. And if somebody is going to try to use force on you to ever take them, I think that you're justified in defending yourself against the expected outcome of what it would mean if that entity using force against you to deprive you of your guns was then to actually disarm you. You think tyranny is bad today, now, how shitty things have been getting? Even if you're, you believe in the narrative and that you think it's necessary, that we need to have somebody come in and lock down the world, this type of tyranny would be nothing compared to what would happen if we were ever disarmed. So that's it. Never be disarmed.